I always try and take the opportunity to speak to teachers. The main reason is that I am who I am because of gifted and quite inspired educators in my life. There's no question about that in terms of who I am today and who were the people who opened up questions of curiosity. Well, for me, I think teachers are inspired to do what they do because they believe in the future. I think leaders in education, whether it's the same as business, government, civil society, need to be future-focused and visionary. That, I think, is the essence of leadership. In this time of transition, you can't Google for social justice. Here is Australia, the second wealthiest per capita nation in the world. Switzerland's number one in medium per capita wealth. Medium's the right measure, not average, because medium excludes Gina and James Packer. In terms of medium per capita wealth, we are the second wealthiest in the world. When it comes to health and safety and community, there's a measure called the Human Development Index. On the Human Development Index, we are second only to Norway in the world. When it comes to health, we're second. When it comes to wealth, we're second. We're healthy, we're wealthy. What profoundly disturbs me is, are we wise?
So that's what today I think, when I look at education sometimes, I've been talking about this, as if you cannot help, at least do not hurt. So I think educators and schools and education leaders should adopt that. We should do the same kind of oath as doctors. We start by saying, do no harm in schools. We do a lot of harm to poor children because we have this very kind of middle class belief that you have to know certain things, so we want to fix your deficit. When children come to our school, we tell them you cannot read, you cannot write, henceforth you're useless, let me help you to read. And by doing so, we may have just disabled the drive, the ability to change. So that's my brain about the beginning part. My whole presentation is really around that issue about how do we preserve the human motivation to change, human motivation to be better, not trying to disable them in education. Education always runs a race between, there is always a race between education and technology. This is two Harvard economists wrote this book, talk about over the last 300 years how human beings have tried to deal with this race between technology and education. When I mention about Google car, when I talk about changes, when technology redefines the value of talents, schools always respond much slower. We respond much slower. We don't even want to deal with that. So we have to catch up. We continue to teach the useless things. And in the hope that might be useful, we need to catch up to this race. To change this idea, it may take us 20, 30, 40 years, because the changes when we are seeing the arrival of globalization and the second machine age is still a very recent phenomenon. It's not really new. Remember this thing? Google this in probably 10 years. You guys have this thing, ubiquitous access to information? 10 years. It hasn't happened. We haven't thought through about this issue yet. So now if you look at even a larger picture, over the last 200 years, how have our jobs changed? Schools have traditionally not have much to do with the creativity. If you go to Google Books, it's a really interesting function. If you want to do some research called Ngram, it basically tracks the frequency of any word that has appeared in the meanings of Google Books. So I went in there, I typed in creativity, and this is what you see. Creativity was not mentioned in the meanings of Google Books before 1920s. And then the number of mentionings jumped after 1980s. Why? That's before people began to realize we're not in the information economy anymore, we're in the creativity economy.
I have never been in a time where there is so much flux, where it's so difficult to plan ahead. Policies are changing, people are changing. It's so difficult to improvise. If ever there was a time that relationally We need to have the mood of our organisation saying, let's not have the inward fighting. Let's get the mood and the life right, because we need to work collegially with other sectors and other schools for a common end.